And so I do worry that people think, that some of the parts of the economics, like storage, reliability, where it can be located, that people underestimate the difficulty of getting the breakthroughs, and they underestimate how long it'll take. Which is why, in my view, energy research in the U.S. across the board is greatly underfunded. I'd say by a factor of 2. I'd say that about ARPA-E. I'd say that about the Office of Science. The Secretary has a hard time making extreme statements like that, but I'm more independent, and I think it's crazy how little we're funding this energy stuff.
One of the things that powered that cycle of innovation, though, was in the infotech side was also the revolution in telecommunications, where we also faced regulatory barriers, an incumbent monopoly, etc. Innovation took place at the edge of that system. Is there the potential to see that in buildings, in smart buildings, in applications in terms of distributed technology, or is that just a pipe dream in your mind?
There's certain efficiency things that are out at the leaf nodes, like how you do lighting, that certainly can proceed with 5-10-year cycles, and that's a great thing. But when you talk about power that's reliable, available all the time, those are big, complex systems. Nothing is going to change that. All the technologies have that characteristic. So you're just not going to see rapid turnover. And it's also why when you look at the market for power generation, in the U.S., we're basically in replacement mode. We have just a slight increase. Right. In fact, if we get the efficiency, you could even see a net decreased demand, although they're shifting if you move transport over to electric. China is a much bigger market for building new power capacity, more than a factor of 10. Mm-hmm. So it's an unusual case where, unlike the IT industry, the biggest market in the world is not the United States, not even close to being the biggest market. And so you don't have the same thing where by serving the most demanding customers here, that alone gives you the understanding and the volume to go out on a global basis. Companies working here on energy better have a plan of how they're going to sell their stuff in China, Asia at large, or else they're just not going to be a scale competitor.
Steve, can we speed up that cycle of innovation? That's the aim, I think, of ARPA-E.
Right. But I think Bill had a very good point, because in the energy, the way you generate energy, the way you distribute energy, the way you use energy is very complex. But what you can do is say you can anticipate developments. We can anticipate developments in batteries. And with those developments in batteries, you can then start to work with the power distribution companies, the utility companies, and say, this is what's coming along. How do you foresee how you're going to do power switching, generation? And as renewables get cheaper and cheaper without subsidy, plan for that. If you don't plan for it, renewables get up to a point and they will stop until the system reaches the next level, and then they'll go like that. You can actually accelerate it by saying, this is what's happening. Try to plan together. And you can perhaps make this transition twofold faster, but it's not going to be a miracle. It's not going to be overnight. That we all know. The other thing that I wanted to reemphasize what Bill said is that the United States was the biggest market for a long time. And the biggest market is no longer in the United States. U.S. companies are beginning to realize this and plan to be selling products abroad and plan to be saying where are the markets, manufactured in the United States, develop the technology in the United States, but there's a huge market out there. But we still need to be showing technological leadership here at home.
In terms of planning ahead, though, I mean, take the grid and the amount of time it takes to get grid permission across federal lands, the explicit plans for a grid that would accommodate new types of energy. I mean, if we're planning ahead, it's hard to notice.
So, in that's a tender point, and I should say that the Department of Energy, in cooperation with FERC, in cooperation with the Department of Interior, have now set up SWAT teams. Teams specifically. There's an application for this line. Let's go through the steps, the environmental impact. Let's accelerate this. Because yes, if it takes 10 years to put a transmission line in, this is going to really slow things up. And so we are focused on this. We know it is an issue.
Bill, you participated in the American Energy Innovation Council, which had an extremely strong set of recommendations on energy R&D, innovation, sort of new structures in order to push forward the R&D agenda. But it basically, in my reading, kind of steered clear about government action that would shape the market, for example, by putting a price on carbon. Was that a recognition that things are just kind of hopelessly bogged down in Washington today, or do you actually think that an R&D only strategy is likely to work to produce the kind of innovation and technology push that we need in the U.S.?